right, welcome back to the We Rock podcast.
Welcome back.
Episode number 13, which we just had a conversation and talked about how fitting it is that we're doing this in the month of October, and we had Friday the 13th about a week ago, and coming up on Halloween next week.
And if listenership is down on this one, we do know who suffers from triskaidekaphobia. One of the random things that has stuck with me from elementary or whatever.
Triskaidekaphobia. That one's always a good one.
Right.
There's a whole list of those that I used to know for a long time. And that's one that I remember for sure. I don't remember all the others.
Right.
But we've got a guest today, which is not really much of a guest because she's really I think she's been on just about every one of them, but
True.
Not really directly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my office manager, Janine.
Yeah, here via satellite link from College Station.
Yeah. And what you don't realize is that this is rather interesting because if you could watch the episodes, you would see that my office is just one giant room. And so I record at my desk, and she's always sitting kind of behind me at her desk across the room.
She's the one always shaking her head.
Yeah, always. Yeah, at whatever's coming out of my mouth. And then normally, but that would be normal. But today, because we're recording and we've tried running the audio 2 or 3 times, we had to move her to the other room so that she can record and we don't hear feedback. Because if you don't know who I am or have not met me in person, apparently I've been told I'm loud. And as my mother always said, that my voice carries. Which is a polite way of saying shut up.
Well, moms are nice.
Yeah. But even Janine just now confirmed, yeah, you're loud. Look, what do you want?
Our customers say when I'm on the phone, is there someone else there or something? Because you're so loud.
I can't look. I don't actually have a volume switch. Or knob. I guess it would just be a switch. It's either on or off. I'm either loud or asleep. I'd be curious to see what do people have. We've had some people say over time that there's issues when it comes to the audio of the podcast. Is it really that there's an audio issue, or is it that I'm loud and then Austin you're not, and so there's a volume discrepancy between when they listen. They're having to constantly control that knob.
Sometimes it's a mix of both. We have had our legit audio issues in the past, and
this is true.
We have also had our legit Tony issues in the past. So they're both true. There's no hiding from it, right?
So you just own it. You know what it is. You know what it is. So. Well, today we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about some education and stuff like that, because we do have stuff coming up in the pipe. We're going to be talking about some of the copyright stuff coming up, and things are kind of moving on that. That's actually kind of cool. We've got some pretty cool stuff coming up with that too here in the future.
Yes.
But for now, we're going to have to table that because it sounds like we're going to end up making a series of that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one's
is what it.
That one's not going to be a half-baked episode. That one's going to be.
What sounded like it was originally going to be like 2 episodes is kind of morphed into almost 3, maybe 4. I'm not going to try to hold it to 4, but
right. Well, especially with what we got lined up for it so far, and then of course we're still in communication with a few other individuals. It's looking like it's going to have a lot of information in it.
Yeah. Well, and Janine can confirm that Abby in my office is done a lot of stuff for our copyright stuff, and so there's a wealth of information coming out on that. I'm not going to pretend that it's good information, but it's information nonetheless.
Oh, I was going to pretend we were the authority.
Authority of what?
Of the podcast.
Of the podcast itself.
Yes. It's not much, but it's honest work. All right.
Well, hey, and actually, we do need to address something because it's been almost a month since we recorded before. Is that right? It's been a little bit.
Yeah, pretty close.
Because it was right after I got back from Italy,
That's
and then
right.
we had we've had Janine went on a trip to the EJ class, and we've had the some of the like the workshop in Ada,
Correct.
and I got sick and some other stuff, but truthfully, the real big issue is that you and I actually weren't speaking for a short period of time.
It was strictly through text message for a while.
Yeah. There was there was some issues going on, and for those of y'all who don't know, there's a major event that happened in Texas.
Basically, a civil war inside the Lone Star State.
There was a legitimate north and south discrepancy here in the Lone Star State, and we were on opposite sides of this, and really we can't like each other for a period of time. But what we've learned is that from here on out, ALCS has to run through Texas.
Oh, if it had the excitement of a World Series.
Oh yeah, look, and now you look at who's. I mean, of course, y'all are still in the World Series, but Diamondbacks. I'm having a hard time getting excited about Diamondbacks.
I thought it would have been the Phillies.
I thought it would have been the Phillies too.
I would have lost money on that. I would also lost money on the whole National League. I expected the Braves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they just kind of slumped out there.
Mm-hmm. But here you have. But
I did say
the wild card team from each side.
Yeah, well, and the I think they're two of the not two of, but I mean the win record on all the teams that were in the playoffs was super low. So it's not a matter of total wins; it's a matter of when you win.
Right.
So. But it is what it is, and we'll see how this continues on. I've got to, I guess, put my big boy pants on, and we had to say, unfortunately, we're having to say goodbye to Dusty Baker. And
I hated to hear that. That's honestly a loss for the baseball community to see him hang it up.
But we'll live on to sports for me. Sports in Texas right now sucks, so we're just.
Oh yeah, because hockey season's starting up. You're into that, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be. Aggies aren't doing too hot, and I'm waiting on Aggie baseball at this point. So
right,
that's all I've got going on for me right now. But how's things up in up your neck of the way? Are y'all getting any rain?
Finally got some rain. The past 2 days it has basically rained all day, and
that's good. We got what, Janine? We got like a rapid shower came in a little bit yesterday towards the end of the day, didn't we?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, and so now we
quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean it's like goalie washer came in out of nowhere and dumped for about 10-15 minutes, and but it's been spitting mostly today. We'll see how long this continues. We're supposed to get some rain tomorrow. However. And I know this doesn't mean much for the people up in Minnesota or Dakota or up in Maine or whoever. But we're going to see some highs of 44, I guess, come Monday. So, which just goes to continue the thing that I say, which is our first cold day is always Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the first. It's always funny to me that. First cold day is the day that you're supposed to be wearing a costume and going trick or treating, and you're going to cover it up with a jacket.
Right.
So,
at least there's not snow.
But what is this that you talk of?
It's this really cool white stuff that falls from the sky and covers everything and makes it really quiet. Hey, that's what you need is lots of snow.
Cocaine?
I said snow.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we're not speaking in code anymore.
Make you louder.
So
okay. How was it?
It was great.
How was the workshop?
It was great. They had an amazing turnout up there. I think the final count was somewhere around 150 people. Of course, that's represents quite a few shops. I think they said there's something like 40 shops represented up there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. The first night was more of their customer appreciation part of it. And even if you are not a customer of theirs, you were still welcome to come. They had a dinner.
They appreciate you either way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're honestly, the Andersons are just excited to share the knowledge that they have with anybody that's willing to sit there and listen. And they are a wealth of knowledge.
And I think that's part of why we get along with them so well. Is, I mean, that's kind of what this is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we'll share our knowledge that we have for whatever that's worth. But to whoever's going to listen. And I mean, they're the same way. It's more about education than it's anything else. If you're not teaching people how to do things, you're not advancing the industry.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And
so
it's especially with them being a supplier, it's in their best interest for us to continue to grow on what we know, because in the end, it benefits them. If we learn how to figure out how to do some of the bigger and grander things out there that necessarily aren't in your wheelhouse to start out with, it helps them out down the line.
Well, I think some of it too is teaching people to not be afraid of things, right?
That's the biggest part.
Yeah. I mean, how many people go, well, yeah, I've got a hammer and chisel and I know how to use it or whatever, but I've got this stone here and I've paid, $1,000 for this rock and I don't want to mess it up because I've already sold it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start somewhere.
You just got to dive in. And even there, because Bodie, his presentation that he put on was in shape carving and adding textures to granite. And there's a lot of people that they just stand back and he'll encourage them and, hey, pick up this sandblast nozzle. Or one of the neatest ones he had was like a old little saw that he took the saw blade out of it and put in, it was a jigsaw. He took the blade out and then put in a little carbide or diamond bit into it that you'd normally put in some type of rotary tool. And then he runs that at an angle across the granite and it adds the texture of what would be grass. Like on black granite. And it's a way, and especially like a sandblast scene, rather than just frosting an entire surface that's going to be your dirt or grass or whatever, you can go in and you can start to add these textures to it. And then you can take your rotary tools and you can add the grain to the wood, things like that. But standing around watching, there's a lot of people that they don't want to step up and do it because, one, they either lack the confidence, or two, they don't like being on a stage in front of people watching them do it. But it was neat whenever you would see somebody that was finally talked into, whether it be shape carving or adding the textures, they would surprise themselves. They would find out that, hey, I can actually do this. And then they would get excited, and then they wouldn't want to put it down.
And that's one of the, I've always said this in business, in carving, in life, all kinds of stuff, that there's something to keep in mind, and that is somebody has done this before you, right? It doesn't mean they're the best at it. It doesn't mean that, yes, the best have obviously done this before you, but there are other people who have done this before that are doing a good job at it. And I'm not saying this to demean anybody. I'm just saying this as in general, as a rule of thumb, right? Just assume that somebody who's dumber than you are has done it before.
That's the rule I live by.
Point myself, right? So the point being is that if somebody who has done it before you, who you consider to be dumber than you are, has already done it, then grab hold of it and try. You can't. What are you going to do? Mess it up? Then you try again.
Well, and even the ones that you consider to be great, and if you really want to go back in the historical context of it, there was a time in history that there was a first time that Michelangelo picked up a chisel.
Yep.
And
well, I mean, so the new current fad individual who's online and gone viral is Charlie Gee out of I think he's out of the UK or out of Germany or something like that. But he's a stonemason. He's not necessarily a monument guy,
right?
he does some sculpture work, whatever, but he does a lot of church restoration stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And his videos have gotten pretty viral, carving on sandstone and limestone and stuff like that.
And gosh, if he don't make it look easy.
Yeah. But you know what? He's done it a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point in time, he's broken a few. You don't get to see the ones that he breaks, because those don't play well online.
I'm pretty sure you do not have a pile behind your shop of the oopsies.
Yeah. Well, no, it's some of the oopsies get broken down and go to the dump. But no, yeah, everybody, we've all got those mistakes. I've got some that have been mislettered back there that I'm saving for other things or whatever. Or some that I've got ticked off because I broke it too much, broke too much off. Heck, we installed one. Janine, when did we install that Bahama blue one that I undercut? Was that 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
So
I installed it while I was gone.
So I broke out a base for this one, and I was kind of trying to make it look rough and have some angles to it. And I got ambitious, and heck, I had Matthew from Schlitzberger's here, and I wasn't paying attention to the angle of my chisel, and I undercut the crap out of that stone, and I took probably 1.5 inches off of the underside of this thing, and I had to walk away from it for a few days so I could kind of take a breath. And I knew what I did. I was going too fast instead of slowing down. And so some of that's part of what you got to be able to be prepared for.
Oh, definitely so. Now, going back to the seminar that they had in Ada, to me, one of the greatest parts of it, because I took my entire staff with me up there, and one of the greatest things that we brought back from that was just my guys being able to interact with people from other shops that do the same work that they do on a daily basis. And whenever they find out that, that they're not holding on to their secrets, we're not holding on to ours, whenever they start finally conversing and showing these, little tips and tricks that they've been doing, all of a sudden it opens up a whole new dialogue amongst these guys that they have camaraderie with one another, and everybody is willing to help.
Well, and I think some of it is too that you got to realize that because our industry is so small, and in many cases, not every case, and not my case, and not necessarily yours, but in many cases, your shop may be the only shop in that town.
Correct.
And at the very minimum, you're across town, and y'all are considered quote unquote competitors, and so there's no conversing. Well, what ends up happening is that you've got, you feel like a man on an island quite a bit, right? You're not supposed to talk to your competitors. Well, we're not really competitors. I mean, we're all going to do stuff a little different. Heck, right now I'm cutting stencil for one of my competitors who doesn't have a stencil cutter. I don't care. I charge them for it. I'm not doing it for free.
Right.
But, it is, they're serving people. I didn't have a chance to serve those people. I'm helping them while I can sit there and go, I'm not doing that. I'm just aiding him being in business.
Correct.
That sale's already been made. I didn't make that sale.
And a lot of
he's
times,
going to get it somewhere.
A lot of times whenever a family shows up at a shop, they're more than likely going to buy from that first place that they walk in.
Yeah, you don't want to get back. You don't want to have to try to build up the courage to go do that again.
Exactly. It's already hard enough for them to face that head on the first time anyways.
Yep. So, but yeah. So, I mean, what all did they go through while you were there as far as some of the topics?
Okay.
I know it's been a minute. You got to remember.
Of course, as I went into just a moment ago, Bodie had his shape carving and texturing. John, Bodie's brother, had a session on palleting, proper ways to pallet things, especially if you're needing to ship rework back to them or the supplier that you use. The best ways to do it to ensure that, one, all these freight companies that we deal with, even if it's hot shots, they don't put a lot of care into handling your product, so you want to make sure that you are packaging. Yeah. So,
Janine, we haven't seen any of that, have we?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Why would we see stuff like that? We just see the shaving.
Why would we see LTLs tear stuff? That doesn't happen.
Never.
They don't put that stuff on the dock and then run into it with a fork.
It's white glove service.
You don't set stuff on top of straps and drive down the road.
Hold on. That was an actual stone delivery guy.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No joke. This individual and company that shipped it will remain nameless. Mm-hmm. However, the driver, henceforth, following the story, did not work delivering stone anymore.
Ouch.
Seriously, I don't know where it was, but that this ended up happening where the change occurred. But I had a 2x1 marker arrive from a supplier, and it was sitting on top of the tie-down straps. The tie-down strap was tight across the other stones it was on, except the 2x1 marker rode, I don't know how many miles, down the highway, sitting on top of the strap, and luckily didn't kill anybody.
Gosh. Well, that's John. He even had a bunch of pictures printed up that he showed us, especially if you're stacking a bunch of bases together and you have, you have a row of them in the middle, that those straps are not tensioning. And he was showing us the ways to properly secure those. But he showed us pictures of delivery drivers that have showed up to their location, and there's like 2 missing out of the middle, like 5-foot bases that just somewhere between Georgia and Ada, Oklahoma. They're out there somewhere.
Is that what's happened to all the roads in Louisiana and Mississippi? You think that would fix it? We're just improving the potholes 1 5-foot base at a time.
Right. It's an expensive way to do it.
Yeah. We I tell you, our stuff has started coming back to us on palletized and banded, and this is probably the last 2 years, something like that. Yes. And so it's showing up banded together, and man, that's great because I'm less worried about it falling apart whenever I'm picking up the whole pallet with a forklift.
Correct.
I love it. It makes life really easy to unload the truck, and so much safer.
Oh, a lot safer.
That's been huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but in addition to John's session that he put on, Becca and Elizabeth, they had laser etching and porcelain demonstration showing, and it wasn't necessarily demonstrating how their laser runs or anything. It was more about proper ways to edit your photos, communicating with your family about what type of quality of photos. And then, of course, the Andersons, they've started offering porcelain portraits now. And they went through the process of how those are done. And then, of course, that tied into the conversation of photo quality. And then guys from Mile Supply, they were there showing off one of their new stone cleaners that is pretty much a direct competitor to the D2 cleaning solution. And they have several variations of it. One's, meant directly for marble, and then they have one meant for granite. They went through that, and then who else? Bicknell was there, and they were doing a demonstration on Monumask, which by now a lot of people know what Monumask is, and it's more or less just everybody sitting around there playing with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think actually understanding some of what it can do also, because there is more than just repainting that it does. And,
there are more applications.
Yep, and when you can use it in conjunction with your cleaner, it does a world of difference. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but yeah, it was a great time. It was good catching up with a lot of people that I hadn't seen in quite a while. And then the last day we were there, which was the day that they put everything on. They had a lunch for us, and then they did drawings to give away certain things like vases and things like that. And I ended up getting a marble baseball.
Man,
oh yeah.
Do you even know what to do with that thing?
Actually, I already have one here at my shop. This is my second one because I've bought one before. But we had a family reach out to us that they're wanting us to do a headstone for their dad, and he was by what they told us, a huge Texas Rangers fan. So we're working out ways to incorporate this into the stone.
Well, I mean, we could put a Astros World Series ring on there.
I mean, if it was in near area, maybe. my area, it's all red and blue.
Well, you know, it's funny. At one point in time during the game, during the series, I texted Austin and said, "Does it bother you that when you look at the little graphic down on the corner that shows the score, that it's really Astros colors? Because it was strictly orange and blue. They're using the orange for the Astros and the blue for the Rangers. And it was crazy. It was funny because I realized, like, well, one of the other color for the Astros is blue,
right?
And it looked straight up just Astros stuff.
But it looked more like a burnt orange to me.
No, that was tangerine.
It's Tony's favorite color, burnt orange.
That color over there in Austin, I always refer to it as pumpkin. Because nobody looks good in pumpkin.
You're not a big pumpkin spice guy?
No. You ever go buy coffee at one of them bougie places and like, would you like a pumpkin spice latte?
No. There is better coffee at convenience stores than you can get at those other places.
Can you just burn the black coffee and pour it in a cup for me, please?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So Janine, you did some educational stuff as well, and which is kind of why we've got you on, because we want to hear about you took the EGA class in Elberton, and this is okay. I don't know, Austin, have you been to Elberton?
I've been one time.
Okay, so this was her first trip to Elberton.
Okay, and
I don't know. I was kind of in the middle of, do I prep her of what Elberton is, or do I not prep her of what Elberton is? Because. And this wasn't a, hey, I'm gonna make fun of Elberton kind of comment. It just we talk a lot about that town, but you don't understand what it is until you get there. Because, you know, like for us here in Bryan College Station's 100,000 people. Bryan's 120,000 people. So between the two individual towns on their own are actual good sized cities, but then combined, we're a pretty good sized area when it comes to a locale. But I would be willing to bet, if I pull up on let me pull up a wiki site to see, I would bet that Elberton, Georgia is 6,000 people.
No, 4,761.
Wow. So yeah, small community.
Very.
And you have to kind of get used to, you got to, realize that that's what you're going into. So tell us about your trip, Jenny.
This is hard.
Well, I mean, so you wanted to go though, right? I mean, this was.
I really did want to go.
Oh, you didn't force her?
No, I actually asked him if I could go because, so even though I've been working for Tony for 4.5 years, there's a lot of stuff that I still don't know, and there's a lot of stuff that I still want to learn. So I asked him if I could go, and it was really interesting for me, because most people take it when they first start out, and so they don't have a whole lot of knowledge of what's going on. But it was really neat for me to learn things that I had no idea about, on top of just reassurance of what we're doing is we're doing the right thing for the families. Seeing the quarries and seeing the manufacturing places was really an eye opener, because you look at the stone when it comes in and it's already pretty much done except for the sandblasting, but you don't understand the magnitude of what goes into getting that stone, even just to the sheds before they ship it out to us. So seeing all those different places was really cool. The EGA was amazing. They took care of me in every aspect that I needed. Elberton is a beautiful little town. It has lots of cool things. I saw a house I wanted to buy by the grocery store. My husband said no. Mind you, it's pretty old, but it was really cool. So I think that was another interesting thing for me. But going to the different quarries, going to see the suppliers, learning from Troy, there was just so many different things. And every day I would call Tony and say, he'd say, "So what'd you learn?" And I'd go through a whole list of stuff of what I learned. So it was. Well, and
I think some of it too is it's not just, it's when you say understanding and seeing some of that stuff, when you've been doing this, even for whether it's a short period or you're starting out or you've been doing it for a long time, if you've never been to a manufacturing facility like that, right? Mm-hmm. Specifically for our industry, whether it's the Anderson's place in Ada, now they don't have the quarries there, but they do have blocks, and they can take care of everything else after that from there. Or if you're going to Elberton, if you're going up to Millbank, South Dakota, if you go up to Cold Spring, Minnesota, if you go out to Barry, Vermont, being able to see this stuff and understand the process, right? Mm-hmm. From the ground, this is what we do. The raw ground, we pull the block out and watch them pull the block out. When seeing the block in the facilities being cut down, seeing the polishing steps, seeing how they start to make it down and go from end to end. So understanding in fact, MB&A did a good job making a video a number of years ago called From Inception or something like that, where it kind of showed the video, the process. And when you get to that, you can understand the amount of work and the amount of steps it takes to get from A to B, right? We always sit here and complain about the price of this stuff, but the amount of steps it takes to get from A to B and be a final product, and then you look at it and you go, wow, and everything's hands-on, because what we do is not something that you can just, let the machine automate. It's got to be hands-on to produce it. I think it's worth its weight in gold to see it and understand what you're messing with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ed Anderson had told me one time that he had estimated that from the time it comes from the quarry to getting to him till it's ready to go out to us, it's probably had somewhere in the neighborhood of like 45 sets of hands on it. And like you said, it is a labor-intensive process, and it's great that she got to go witness a lot of that. Because even for me, it helped me a lot whenever the first time that I just went to Ada and actually got to, see where this comes from, see the steps, and it makes you better able to serve your families because you speak a lot clearer with them whenever you know exactly what it took to make that certain product.
Have you been to Cold Spring?
I have not.
So that one was that place is phenomenal.
They do it right. That's the one you said
is incredible.
That's the one where you said that you would eat a can of Campbell's soup off the floor.
Yes. Yeah. It's clean. It's absolutely spotless. Now I will say that I will eat it off the floor, but I'm probably going to eat it out of the can. It's just it's going to get hard to scoop a spoon. Let's be real.
Right.
So, I haven't been to Barry yet. That's another one I want to go see. A lot of it's because I want to go see Hope Cemetery, but I'd love to go to Barry and see those facilities up there. I just haven't had the time or made the time. So one of these days, it's on the bucket list.
Oh yeah.
So, Janine, of course, you went through, you did the quarries, and I kind of joked with you about it's a hole in the ground. It's once you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all. But it's a little impressive though to see it, especially for the first time. And you went to, which quarry did you go to?
So the first day we went to the Pyramid Quarry, which is the one where they're digging down. And then the other quarry that we went to was the Blue Sky Quarry, which is
that's the one with the overlook. Is that right?
It's the one where they can drive in. So they're doing
Okay.
everything with wire saws there. But like when you go and you look at the quarry, yeah, you see pictures of it, but you don't understand the magnitude of how big these blocks are that are coming out of there. And just like the people were teeny tiny because they were so far down in the first quarry. And so to get those big heavy blocks out of the ground, like that's super dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just the really cool thing was to see the grain in the stone as it ran through the actual quarry. That was cool to just, it doesn't just stop at the end of the block. It goes on through. And so it does give you a whole new appreciation for everything that you see when it comes to you.
Yeah, and I think especially when you start to understand the color, right? You talk about seeing the grain continue on and on and on. And, for us in my shop, and Austin, I've been to your place. I just don't remember how you show your colors. But for us, I've got these 12 by 12 tiles on the wall.
Same thing.
To show our color. And sometimes even the 12 by 12 is not large enough to really show it. It doesn't really do justice to American Black or French Creek or stuff like that.
Paradiso or Silver
Paradiso
Cloud.
or Bahama Blue. Yeah, those the ones that move. I always forget. I'm gonna get in trouble for this one. The mahogany one that has the movement. Is it rustic mahogany or is it carnelian? I get them all backwards.
No, it's not carnelian. Carnelian's the
carnelian is the one it's got a little bit of blue and it's really clean. But you get the idea. So it's hard to see the variegation in this in small pieces. And when you get in the quarry and you can see it, you can see that movement. So it's worth getting the chance to go out there and do it. But Jenny, you said not only did Matt and Chris take real good care of you at the EGA, you said you were talking about Troy did a really good job out there as well, right?
Yeah, Troy did an amazing job. He taught us a lot about the retail side of it. We went through pricing, like retail pricing, and how to figure out your general pricing as far as you take your stone, your sandblasting, your delivery, and how you come up with your idea of what you should be pricing it at. And then we did a class on monuments. We did Monuments 101, 102, 201, and 202, where he explained basically that when you're doing a design, that it has to have purpose. That all design should have some purpose and it should tell the story of that family. And I think a lot of us that were in the group, we know that concept, but to see the reason behind it and the symbolism of each design and each little detail and how important it is to make it all flow together versus just clip arts in the corner, and how that helps the family when they see that stone to connect with it. That was really a very interesting thing to see, and to see everyone, the moment where everyone's going, oh yeah, I see that now. I see why we do that. Troy did an amazing job, answered lots of questions from everyone. And I enjoyed learning the monument side of it, even though that's not what I do. I enjoyed learning more about that stuff.
Yeah, but I think that's important for you to know too. I mean, I really do. And I think we've had that discussion here in the office a lot. And it's, if you don't understand the importance of, or if you don't understand the process of the manufacturing of the rock, or what it takes to sandblast, or even what it takes to design, doesn't mean you have to do it.
Right.
It doesn't mean you have to be the designer. It doesn't mean you have to be the sandblaster. But as the person speaking to the family, it makes it really kind of hard to really verbalize what can be done and what can't be done, or what why you want to do something this way versus that way. It really, you can go, well, I can just see it. I can't really tell you why, versus, well, look, we can sandblast that letter into that, but that 1/4 inch letter is not going to show up in that grain, or whatever the case is. I mean, you just, my favorite is whenever somebody wants to, and I like, like when we use Sunset Red, if inevitably family wants to use a lot of text, you're like, you're going to want an 1.25 inch letter on that. Just hands down. You're going to want a big letter.
But can you cut it right into the polish? We like the polish.
No.
Yeah. That one, my favorite. That color to me is next to cursed. I like the color. I mean, especially since I'm from Texas and there's significance to that color here in the state. But that one is one that I will be working designs with families. And again, it's going to be one of those that are going to be asking for a lot of text. And and I'll create this large, frosted panel just so you're able to read this. And they're without fail. They're, well, why is that other color there? We like the other color. You're not going to be able to read it. Well, we can see it on your screen. That's different. And I've got an example here in my shop that I'll pull up and show people. And most of the time it will convince them to either cut down on what they're wanting or to go with the idea that I'm putting forward.
I'm actually, this made me think of an idea, and we're in the process of working on a new building for us. I may see if I can get Cold Spring to give me a big block that I can make a cornerstone out of for the building, and just engrave on the Sunset Red, being a Texas stone, but engrave something that becomes a little difficult to read, just to kind of prove the point.
Make it look like you've been there forever.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, there's some things that you just got to be hands-on and understand. But I think that's why you want to be able to take these classes and educate yourself on what the process is. So,
we did a cemetery tour, Tony. So we went to the cemetery, and it was very interesting. There were 3 American Black monuments side by side, and one had a frosted panel, one had just a frosted outline, and then the other one, I can't remember exactly, but it was 3 different ways to put the last name on the back of the stone. And each one looked totally different. And it was really cool to see them all 3 in the same area. So you could go, well, that looks odd, or that looks really good. You should do it that way. But to be able to see the stone utilized in that way was really neat to see.
Yeah, well, and you know how things are here is fonts make a difference. So it's not, output of font makes a difference as well. So it's always important to be able to know.
Well, I only have
those
2.
things.
I only have 2 fonts in my library.
Vimarco,
that's one,
and Modified Roman.
Modified Roman, big fan.
Do you have the condensed one though too?
Oh yeah. We get a little bougie every now and then.
Okay. Well, what about the? Do you have the one where the two goes down like this, or do you have the one where the 2 does like this? Because those are 2 different Modified Romans.
It is.
But so you got the cemetery tour, and of course he went over pricing and things like that. And I think that one of the things that when she got back that we kind of went over was that we weren't necessarily going to use that information to reinvent the wheel here, but it's important to know how others are doing things or how people go and approach certain things, because sometimes it changes your aspect on how you approach a sale or how you approach business. You may find something that you like better. We didn't change our pricing structure because it just didn't make sense for us. But I hope that Janine, you ended up taking something away, and even how you maybe approach a family in some of that.
Yeah, I mean, there were little things that Troy talked about that that we already were doing with our families, but there were other things that he discussed with us that changing just the conversation and how to lead the conversation versus to be pushed in the conversation, to lead the family, not to get them to buy anything more expensive or anything like that, but to lead them into the direction of this is going to look better, this is going to feel better as far as the whole flow of things, versus them pushing you into the corner going, no, we want this giant rose in the corner, and then in the other corner we want a flute. instead of it being just the clip art pieces, how to guide them into making that whole scene flow together. And so that I liked that part. I liked hearing all the different ways other people were doing things and just taking bits and pieces back with me.
Good. And that kind of really comes into the overall arching part of this discussion, which is education, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's been the dealer data or this particular one, of course, MB&A does all their education things. We're coming up on an education year this year in where is it? Oh, Tijuana. That's right. It's in Tijuana this year. You're looking at me funny because it's really in San Diego, which is across the border.
I knew what you were talking about.
I knew what I was saying. I don't know that I'd go to Tijuana right now, though. I'll be honest with you.
No, I'm. This gringo gonna stay north of the border.
Yeah. I'll travel to allied countries, but I think at this point in time, I'm gonna sit still. I'm gonna sit still for a little bit.
Not planning a trip to Israel anytime soon or anything like that, or
no. There's this place called Gaza. Never heard of it, but apparently they got stuff going on over there.
Right.
So, okay, this is where I get canceled.
Skirting the edge.
But yeah, exactly. No, I think the education stuff is important. Yeah, like I said, MBNA's got theirs, and School of Hard Rocks is going to come up. I continue to do that. Putting yourself in a position to where you are going to spend time and money to better your craft will only fall to a place where it's not valuable to you if you, one, show up and don't pay attention, and two, don't find ways to utilize what you're educated on. Right. That does not mean that you will use what you're taught verbatim. A good example is like what Janine was saying about the pricing structure. I'm not going to use that here just because it doesn't fit us. It's not that it's a bad structure. My structure is actually not phenomenal, but then again, I'm not Allison Raymer, and I'm not that intelligent. So this is what works for us and has been profitable for us and has been easy for us to use. But heck, had I not gone and sat down on the memorial designer class in Dallas a number of years ago, I'd still be designing on Gerber and I'd be behind. And I think, look, that doesn't mean Gerber's a bad product. No, it doesn't fit what I'm doing anymore. It doesn't fit me and our style and how we approach things.
That just goes to show, just always have an open mind. Don't pretend like whatever structure you have, whatever process you have is the only way to do it. Just as it says the most detrimental statement ever in business, anything, life, is we've always done it this way.
Yeah, Grandpa did it this way. Well, Grandpa also had to deal with cholera. Polio was not a vaccine. There wasn't a vaccine for it when Grandpa was running the shop. You still want to go through that too?
Right.
I mean, what are we talking about here? So, I think it's just important to remember, stay on top of things and be willing to look out and do different things. I know that we've kind of, there's different things that I've changed up a little bit from just order tracking software. I've had people go, well, this is the best, or this one's the best, or whatever. And after looking at a bunch of them, we kind of stepped out and said, well, let's back up and take another breath at this. And we found one that's not necessarily in the industry for us. And Janine, you found that you tend to like that one quite a bit. Is that right?
I do like it because it does a lot that the other software was capable of. It's not as advanced as the other software, but it still allows me to be able to track orders and to just keep things sorted. Like if we need to find out where the cemetery or what cemetery all these stones go to, I can sort it specifically by the cemetery. So even though it's totally not meant for the monument business, it's working for us.
That's good.
Well, and that's the important part, is just finding what works for you. We use a product called Podium for us that allows us to stay in touch with our customers through text without actually using my cell phone number to text them. Because see, I said that, and immediately you thought of how many people that are text you that have your cell phone number, and they'll send you a message on a Saturday or Friday evening during dinner. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nope. Not anymore.
I tried to call you. So. I tried to call you Sunday about 8:00. Well, I ain't answering anything.
Yeah. No.
My family time is my family time.
No, I just and that's kind of my deal, is I want ease of use, and for us with Podium, everybody in my office can stay in touch with any given customer. That we can send pictures back and forth that way. We can use it through email. They can connect to us through our website, all kinds of stuff. And the number they use is our office number. So when they send a text, it comes to there's text. It's like they're texting the office line, and it comes to us. And it's great. So, but it's certain things. It's about going out there and finding other things and learning stuff. And if you listen, that's what's been great about. Not even just these conventions, our podcast, but the Monument Builders group. Oh, definitely. It's about reaching out there and learning different things. And trying to figure out what is new and what works and what you feel is going to help aid you. I know, like even now, if I scroll back through the Monument Builders group right now, there's people in there looking for certain shapes. Hey, how can I find this shape or whatever that I've seen? Inevitably, there's the obligatory what font is this questions.
Font or color?
Those kind of things. But do what? Font. The color one I can get behind. I don't mind the color one because color changes enough.
Correct.
That one is not something I go, they're asking for color. Like, yeah, but even Missouri red 20 years ago is not Missouri red today.
Correct.
You've hit a different spot of the quarry, and you don't know what that quite looks like. So I still hang up on fonts or on colors quite a bit. Fonts, I have ways to find the font. So without making a public question out of it.
Did you say you found ways to find the font?
Yes, the font. That one's been our favorite in our office as of late. But that's a story for another day. Because I don't know if we want to go there today, do we, Janine?
No, we don't want to go there. ever again.
So, but
I encourage people to be active with it, even down to just like what you're talking about, just the Facebook page, the Monument Builders Facebook page.
Yep.
Be active with it. Don't be afraid to get on there and show your work. Because nobody there, unless you come with a bad attitude at it, nobody there is going to tear it down. You're going to get constructive criticism. And as long as you're willing to accept that constructive criticism, you're going to grow.
Bobby Mattos once said to me, that the value that you get out of something is directly attached to what you're willing to put into it.
Absolutely.
And that's a little bit of verbatim, because we were talking about something, we were talking about membership and associations, which again still ties to what we're talking about now. But that was, I mean, when you start really breaking it down, I mean, it's absolute. The value of what you're going to get out of any educational course it is really going to be how much you're willing to dive into it, and immerse yourself into it. That's a huge part of it.
Well, even on the educational courses, especially pertaining to the ones that are at the convention, since they're not necessarily hand-on.
Yeah.
Even if it's a topic you've heard before or something you're pretty well versed in it, still be willing to sit there and listen with an open mind, and then also listen to the discussion that happens during and after, because there may be that one little point, that one little tip or trick that you have not evolved into that yet. Just always,
and even in Janine, with you were at the EGA course. I mean, you kind of saw some of that where there were mostly it was new people, correct? But there were a few people that had been around the industry for some time and still got some stuff out of it. I mean, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody got something out of it. Even I did. I mean, not saying I'm like this genius or whatever, but like, even though like the part about we went and saw them install monument, or when they were teaching us how to install porcelain and stuff, even though that's not part of my job, it still benefited me to see how the monument's installed, so I can explain to a family when they have questions, or what it takes to install a porcelain, because families, they ask those questions, and that way I don't have to go, hey Tony, how do you do this, or how do you do that? It gave me an insight to other ways of doing things. It gave me insight into why things are done the way they're done. And so all the things that I took from it are going to benefit the families that I serve, just because that way when they ask a question, I can give them a legitimate answer and go, hey, I've seen that stone being made in the actual shop or the shed, and I know what that guillotine thing does. That's pretty cool. And I get to show them pictures like I did the other day when that family was here. And they were excited about the fact that I got to see all that stuff firsthand, because they had no idea what it took to make that stone come to them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even still, I think some of that too was what I enjoyed when you got back from this, was that you would ask me questions as to, well, this is how they did this. How do we do it? And so I'd say, we approach, and one of them being like the porcelain picture. And this doesn't mean that the way that she was taught was wrong. It's just not how we do it for us. And she'd ask why. And I approached the reason why I handle our pictures the way we do. It's just different. Mm-hmm. But now that sparked that question, right? Mm-hmm. That sparked the question of, why do we do it differently? And I can break down that full-on conversation as to, well, this is the reason. It's not just because I, randomly decided I want to do something different and do it my way. It's because I've had experience with it that way, and I didn't necessarily like it. It wasn't my cup of tea. It didn't find it worked well for us, so we tried this way. Mm-hmm.
And the one that was interesting for me was when they were talking about the silicone versus the setting compound, and why one area uses setting compound versus the silicone. And so I had no idea. So when I called, I was asking about it, because I wanted to know why these people said, that's all we use is setting compound. This is what you're supposed to use. So I didn't understand any of that. So
we even broke down even further, because you and I even broke down that even further, because I don't know, Austin, do you use silicone or setting compound?
Setting compound.
Okay. So, for silicone users, inevitably I see a lot of people tape it off, and they come and they will caulk the whole edge, and they come back and they clean the caulk. And Janine was talking about how they would come out there and get their fingers wet with Windex or water and spray down with Windex, and that way they get a nice clean joint. She asked me why we don't do that. And I said, well, the reason is because whenever I put my caulk on the stone, I set it back about 3/4 of an inch from the joint. Okay. So it sits back behind the face of the stone. And then when we set the stone down, it'll squeeze it, but it doesn't squeeze it out of the face of the stone. Okay. And the reason for that is, I don't know, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, I was caulking around the edges of the stone, cleaning it all up. And I come back the next day because I want to take this really nice, pretty picture, because we're early on. We need to take pictures of everything. And I look at the stone, and some of the dust and sand that was in the area blew onto the wet caulk, and it stuck on it. And you're not getting it off.
No,
you're gonna have to cut it out and redo it. So I was like, no, it's just, it's a different way to do it. I do it my way because it works, and that's why we use pennies to set, because it's a tighter joint and it just looks clean. It's just our method is our method because I've run into other issues. Somebody's going to tell me, hey, that's wrong. You need to do it this way. And until we find a better way, that's why we're doing it.
And I mean, there's pros and cons for each side of that, but at the end of the day, both of them work, and that one just works better for you.
Yeah. My father-in-law always says everything's a compromise, right? And whenever he said that to me once upon a time, I took that to heart, and I realized that every decision you make in life, not just in monuments, every decision you make is a compromise. You are compromising one choice for the other, and you've got to decide, is that compromise valuable? And the same thing goes in the education. You cannot make that choice if you do not go and get the education in the industry and learn more about the industry. You can't even make that compromise or make that choice to know whether or not what you're doing is right or wrong. You're compromising the information, but ahead of time, just know it. Give yourself the options and the tools to mentally to know what you have available to you.
Oh yeah. And of course, like whenever I went to Ada, that one was free. Anybody that wanted to attend, that was free. One's coming up like Hard Rocks and others coming down the line. Yeah, there's a fee associated with being able to attend those, but don't look at it as just a dollar figure, and look at it as an investment. You are investing in yourself, and that's the best investment you can make.
I like to point out too, whenever, some of this stuff, I don't remember what Hard Rocks costs because Janine writes the check for that. Do you know what I probably come out of there all in all less than $2,000, because that includes my travel, that includes my food, that includes my hotel stay, fuel, all that stuff, right? I mean, so all in all, and then whatever tools I end up buying, I'm less than $2,000.
Yeah, I was going to say, you come back with toys.
Yeah, I do. I'm notoriously bad for that, and Janine's not allowed to tell me how much money I spend on tools unless I get out of control.
Well, heck, whenever there's a convention and somebody like Bicknell or Miles has a table set up, it's almost a race to get to the table, and you'll pick up a chisel and you're like, ooh, I like this one. You'll turn it over and it says Tony Watson. You're like, that son of a, and then you put it down. And so then I'll have to pick something else up. Just, I want it. I see it. I can feel it, touch it. I want it.
You got to get there when I do, and you're not going to do that.
You're helping them unpack.
I helped them pack it to ship it. So, but yeah, Jenny, you were saying something.
Oh, I was saying that even I came back with supplies from the supply house because I saw things that they were showing us that I was like, hey, can we get this? We need this. Yeah. I won't ever use it, but I thought it was cool and I thought we needed it.
Well, and some of it too is like, so if I go out there and I spend, $2,000 on this stuff, on my trip, on my education, and I know that seems like a lot of money, but for us in my shop, 2x6x2 on a 3-foot base in gray is more than that, right? Mm-hmm. We got to sell one, so I've got to sell one to cover it. That's kind of really where I'm at with a lot of this stuff. And if I can learn something enough to improve the value of what that is, I can sell more of those.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it makes it real easy to justify a lot of it then.
Exactly. There's certain things I've bought over the years where it's been, I want to, in my head, I want to find a manner in which I can say, okay, this is going to pay for it this way. They'll pay for itself this way. Going to Harbor Freight and buying a tool to do the job so I don't have to pay somebody else to do it, or there's weight in gold. Mm-hmm. Heck, I bought my settling torch so I could do thermal texture onto stones. I don't know, 5-6 years ago. Mm-hmm. I've not only used it enough to pay for it on stones, but I will from time to time use it to heat up a pin or cut a pin in half or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. So, and all that stuff comes to pay off, and it's just about having and understanding how to use it.
Oh yeah.
So, but no, I think if we can get people to understand that education in the industry is more than just more than sitting in a class and learning about insurance.
Yeah.
Or sitting in a class to, I don't know, learn about a sales approach. And that doesn't mean the sales approach is bad. Mm-hmm. There are so many aspects of what education is in here. And I know there's MBNA's got a good group right now that's working on education stuff. If you have ideas on this stuff, you can always email them. You can email us. I'm happy to have these educational discussions on here. The ones that we can do that are not visual. The visual ones, we'll do some kind of a Facebook Live if we need to and leave it there on our Facebook page. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to do it that way too. But this podcast and the We Rock podcast, and correct me if you think if you're a different direction, but it is more than just us hanging out and having a conversation. It is really about trying to get that education out there. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to do it whatever way we got to. Mm-hmm. If somebody's asking, hey, can we do something on better use of fonts, I'm happy to have Jed come on and do a live with us, and we can record that and put that out there for people to see, or have some kind of deal on design, or I don't really care. That's what this is. We're doing this for everybody else. I mean, yes, we're doing it because we're having a good time, right? But we're doing this for everybody else, and I want people to understand education is the primary goal. Mm-hmm. Whether that's we're talking about the trips we've been on, or the classes we've been to, or the copyright stuff we're talking about, or pick a scenario, the technology stuff that comes out. That's what it's all about. It's all about the education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from the initial conversations that you and I had about putting this together, doing it, of course, we knew it was going to be fun to do along the way. And aside from, the potential fame and fortune, it was always about what can we do for this industry. And of course, the two of us, we're not absolute authority figures in this. We're just the people that are willing just to talk for an hour.
You're not?
No, but Austin's close. He's closer than I am to it. So people stop me on the street and they go, "Hey, you're on that podcast with Austin, aren't you?" See, it's a whole different realm.
Well, I mean, people have stopped me before and asked me for Tony's autograph, and I'm like, "Oh crap, I'll get it for you."
People stop me and say, "You were with Tony Watson?" Oh, I'm so sorry.
That is 100% true.
It is 100% true.
Yeah, just be looking for the swimsuit.
They saw
calendar.
her coming in Elberton. So, yeah, that was I said you got to choose whenever you go to Elberton whether or not you're going to mention my name or not, and use it at your own discretion. So, because there's an old story that I've said, and it's and I'm going to try to clean this up a little bit, but there was I had gotten a phone call from Jason Campbell, and I had realized that I'd always kind of said that you become somebody when Tom Oglesby uses your name as a verb. And Jason calls me and says, I sent a design for Tom to quote. And he calls me up and says, "Why are you sending me this Tony Watson excrement?" And it was not excrement. So I didn't say that the verb he was going to use was good or becoming, but nevertheless it was a verb, and that means you have made it in life, I guess.
You're so famous, you were infamous.
There you go. So, but no, I think again we're going to beat the mess out of this dead horse. Education's important. Mm-hmm. It's vital to your business. If you're not the business owner and you're listening to the podcast, then I really shouldn't even have to tell you that the education is important. You're already halfway there, because you're sitting here listening to us talk about these things, and it's not only going to improve your skill set within that shop, but it's going to improve your value to that business owner in that shop. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, it's going to improve what you're doing for the families you serve in your community. And that's the number one goal.
Absolutely.
So
I think
on
it's
that
important.
note,
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, I think it's important to
Yeah.
note, though, like for business owners, it's not, the education isn't just for the guys in the shop. The people in the office need to be educated as well as to what's going on, because then, like you said, they can better serve the families. So educating everyone that's within your company is a very important value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever a family calls and Janine picks up the phone, she is a point of authority. People look to her as an authority figure whenever they're calling and asking them the questions that they're going to ask.
why are you preaching to me?
I'm trying to make you like really, really respect what you got there, you know?
Thank you, Austin.
You've got Wes.
Yeah.
What's he doing right now?
I think he's on the phone he's on the phone with the family right now.
Okay. You sure it's a family and not the casino?
He said he says if you're going to use a casino up here, only use his.
No, I think I agree. It's important that you train everybody. It's important that everybody gets a chance to do it. And sometimes you feel like it's hard to let them take the time to go do it. It's inconvenient. It is inconvenient, but the longer you go without them doing it, is more inconvenient. Death by 1,000 paper cuts is kind of what I would say it would be like. Whereas if Jenny, you probably should have gone to that earlier.
Probably.
But some of it is that it gets hard to remember to do it. Even on my spot, we're sitting here talking about trying to inform people to do education. I get sidetracked and forget about these things. So,
and from a business owner standpoint in a monument company, you want your people to be enthusiastic about what they do, and they need to see these things. They need to hear these things. Because if the only thing they have to go off of is just what you've shown them and then just what they've experienced just like on a daily basis in their office, it's hard to build that enthusiasm. Yeah.
I mean, they need to have some buy-in to it as well and feel like there's value for them. So just
that's one thing that talking about Wes, Wes is to the point now that he's designing things that he's designing them with the mindset of, I want to submit this in a design competition. And he wants that.
Yeah. And that's the way we design everything that comes through my shop, because I want to win an award, but because that family that walks in the door is worth that.
That's why you're wanting to build a new shop. You want more space for awards.
This wall is going to be 3 times the height, and 4 times as long.
Whenever somebody walks in the door, you give them a tour through your award gallery.
There's a so
kind of that way now.
Yeah. Well, I joked about it a little bit, and I don't know. We had one come in a week or so ago. It was mailed to us, and we're running out of room on the wall. And I joked. I said, let's screw it to the ceiling, so it's like the dollar bills at the honky tonk over there. Or like for us, I can actually say this just with about any one of them. Everybody's been to that one Mexican restaurant that has the pictures of everybody that's been there taped to the wall somewhere. Oh, that's covering up the giant mural that they paid money to have painted. They don't even know it's there anymore. It's just pictures of random people.
Wearing a sombrero.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's what we're aspiring to be, I guess. But no, it's doing right by the families. That's the number one priority. That's the only reason why we focus on anything that we do here. Yeah, because I want to do right by the families.
Yeah, if we get recognition down the line from our peers for something that we did, that's just the icing on the cake. But the main thing is providing that family with something that they look at and they know that represents their loved one. And every single time that they go to the cemetery, it's peaceful to them.
Yes. So, what do we got coming down the pipe? Anything? Nothing exciting going on over there?
No, World Series starts tomorrow.
What's that?
World Series starts tomorrow.
Poker?
No, of baseball, the Fall Classic.
Oh, yeah, we've won 2 of those. I've quit paying attention.
We have not won one yet, but I'm not going to sound like a Dallas Cowboy fan sitting here going, "It's our year." I'm not going to do
man, that would be
not going to do that.
That would be the worst. Yeah, but here's the other problem is you also don't want to get to the place where like, oh yeah, well, we were the best, and that was 30 years ago.
Some people like to hang on.
We were in Sunday school a couple weeks ago and talking about we're now reading the book of Mark, and so if you don't know the history of the book of Mark was not present at the time of Christ, meaning he existed, but he was not there with Jesus, but he was with Peter and he was with Paul later on, as they get towards the end of their lives. So when he's writing this book, he's writing kind of the synopsis that he's been told. And so I tell you that to say, my Sunday school teacher is telling us this, and he's talking. He's from Dallas, and he says, well, so it was probably about 30 years after the life of Christ that Mark's writing this stuff, as he's been told this, and the history is, so it's fresh. This is fresh. And I said, kind of like when the Cowboys won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they won't as long as they still have Dak Prescott as a quarterback.
Ooh, he's got some abysmal numbers right now.
I honestly believe he is colorblind. Whenever he throws that ball downfield, apparently whatever jersey the other team is wearing looks blue.
Well, maybe they should teach him shapes. Throw to the star.
Shoot, talking about sports, I saw a little while ago on one of the baseball pages I follow on Facebook, somebody asked, hey, when does the World Series starts? I've been watching ESPN, and the only thing that they talk about is Taylor Swift.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and apparently, she put her boyfriend on the map. I mean, he didn't win a Super Bowl or anything like that, or two prior to that. But
he was a nobody.
Yeah. No, he wasn't the best tight end in the country, or really kind of almost in the history of football. But whatever.
Not the one that I got upset that I wasn't able to draft in fantasy. But
yeah, well, hey, if it makes you feel any better, I have George Kittle on my team, who only performs every once in a blue moon, and my starting quarterback is currently Baker Mayfield, because the original starting quarterback was Aaron Rodgers.
Oh no!
Yeah. However, somehow I have squeaked by, and I'm still 5-2. I don't know how. I'm like, if you look at just my numbers and the points, I'm 8th in the league, but I'm third currently in our league when it comes to wins. So I don't know how I've pulled that off, but I have appropriately named my team Rock Bottom. So, and that is where we're headed.
Whenever I was doing fantasy baseball earlier in the year, I forgot what I had my team named as, and it was abysmal, just downhill. So my team name changed to Team Basement. And that's where we stayed.
That's about right. So, but let's see what else. I think we're still going to be working on this. The copyright one.
Yep. But waiting to hear back from that one law firm that you and I had talked about, which they've corresponded with us a little bit, and just waiting to
kind of give you a little bit of heads up of what we're trying to do is we actually have an attorney that we're probably going to have on the podcast hopefully soon. That is familiar with copyright law
and also
litigating copyright law, and familiar with copyright law when it comes to, we'll say, funerary design.
Mm-hmm.
Safe, sufficient.
Yeah.
So
issues pertaining to our industry.
Yes. So the talks seem to be pretty good. So we're hoping to have them on, and once we have that agreed upon, we will let y'all know who that is. And if you run into situations, they will be open to answer your questions if you have problems and things like that along the way, so they can also assist you.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's going to look good. I'm excited about what's coming down for that. I think that one's going to be a phenomenal conversation with them, and
yes,
I think it'll help protect all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I know for now.
Same here.
Hunting season starts pretty soon.
Coming up quick.
Yeah. Of course, I told you earlier today about my new toy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Your
So
new little boomstick.
Yep. So this ought to be pretty good. We'll see. Hopefully I can bring home something for some stew.
There you go.
But whatever. But, all right. Well, Janine, I would say thanks for being on, but I can say that here in about 4 minutes when you unplug the computer and move it back into your office, and then I say, hey, thanks for being on.
All right. Well, I'm going to say thanks for being on, Janine. Yeah.
But no, I really do. I appreciate it, and her information is invaluable. I think it's very good for people to understand the value of the EGA class and whatnot. And
it also just gives our listeners an opportunity to hear somebody other than you or me.
Yeah, that you notice our numbers dwindle pretty. No, they don't.
No,
I don't know why people listen to us.
Man, the numbers have actually been doing well, all except one episode.
One episode. You know what y'all don't want to hear us talk about? We just go ahead and talk about what y'all really don't want to hear us talk about is cremation, and it's pretty evident.
So we're excited to announce we've got a 7-part series on cremation coming up.
Oh man, they were like, cremation? Nope.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I'm excited about what's coming down the pipe. This is going to be really good, and we're getting into the season, so we're getting into Thanksgiving time, and so things are our schedule probably kind of goofed up, but I don't want to lose momentum and try to keep up doing what we're doing, because we are also coming up on the 1 year of us doing this once we hit January, February, sometime like that,
somewhere in there.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I'm so excited about it that I upgraded my headphones. I'm now wireless.
I'm still tethered.
Man, yeah. It's like, cut that umbilical cord.
I mean, you look like you're over, in the club over there. You got all these lights flashing on it.
Yeah. I'm going to take a black Sharpie to this part right here and just color that in. So, but. All right. Well, I think on that note, we'll sign off and we'll say see you all on the next one, the 14 one. So we'll check this triskaidekaphobia thing here shortly to see if this one actually pans out or if anybody cares.
Are we not going to do it how hotels do elevators? You got 1 all the way to 12 and then it goes to 14.
Yeah. Well, I know Janine's not afraid of the number 13.
I'm not afraid of the number 13, but I am afraid of the number 666. So just let you know.
Well, whenever have the number 666.
Whenever we reach that episode number, we'll just we'll go 665, 667. We'll skip
we do like 665
because of that number.
That's why she did it. Yeah. We'll have like the episode 665. Episode 665.2.
Right.
And then 667.
Sounds good to me.
So we got to get there first. We're on number 14. That's a world away for us. So
you want to start doing them daily then? Well, we'll get there quick.
Ooh, I'm not Ben Shapiro.
Oh man, that's a grind to do that.
No kidding. So, all right. On that note, have a good one. We'll catch you on the flip side.
That'll work. See y'all later.